Happy Thursday. This was the day former Desert Hot Springs council member was going to find out his fate. He was charged with vandalism and false imprisonment after a road rage incident on November 4th. Russell Betts will now have to wait until next week. Betts blocked in, well, he wasn't smiling today, I'll tell you that, blocked in a 22-year-old man with his car and refused to let him move. It was an ugly scene, caught on security camera video. The judge appeared ready to rule. Betts pled a misdemeanor. But then the victim showed up in court and read a statement. It read in part, "My life has not been the same since the incident happened. Mr. Betts did $3,000 damage to my car with his bare fists. Now everywhere I go, I am watching over my shoulders." After that, the judge asked for a little more time to make a ruling. They're scheduled to be back in court next week. Yes, they might be filling the potholes a lot faster than they used to on Highway 74, but that doesn't mean it's still not dangerous. Picture taken this morning, pretty self-explanatory, wouldn't you say? Not exactly sure what happened, but there's the result, and it was obvious. Not only was the car overturned, it looked like it had been hit with a bomb. The caption said it all. Perhaps the road should be renamed Stay Away. You rent the Coachella Valley? Have you ever read it? Buying a house now is out of the picture for many, and renting is a way of life. But now some good news for renters. A new law goes into effect April 1st, prohibiting landlords from charging certain fees. What is the big takeaway here? No more first, last, and one additional month's rent as a security deposit. Won't be charged more than the equivalent of 1 month's rent for your security deposit. Our guests tonight, Jim Walker and Brad Ward. Jim, so this is an attempt to enhance tenants' rights. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. You know, your landlord has a pretty good heavy hand over you in that he owns the place that you live. Anything that gives the tenants a few more rights is a good thing.
What do you think, Brad? Should the tenants have more rights?
I agree with Jim. I think that anything that helps with transparency makes it even better for both the tenant and the landlord.
Landlords will be required to take photos of a unit before a tenant leases and after they vacate to give proof of any damage claims deducted from their security deposit. Now do you think that'll stop landlords from overcharging for small damages, Brad?
I hope it will. When I vacated my office, the landlord tried to withhold part of my security deposit, even though I left the office pristine. Had I taken photos or had they had photos, there would have been no question.
Jim,
yeah, I don't think this is onerous on the landlord at all. This is not the age of your Kodak camera where you have to go get things developed, and it's not a big deal. You snap a photo with your camera and you have proof before and after. I think that's a pretty good protection.
Okay. And finally, do you think, though, this might be a case of too much government interference, Jim?
No, absolutely not. As long as it's not, where you have to submit photos to a government agency and they have to review them. If both sides had photos and have proof, and, that can be litigated at another time if necessary.
Brad, what do you think? You with him?
I think as long as the laws like this protect tenants, especially against unscrupulous landlords, it's probably okay. If the transactions were overwhelmingly fair, I think it would be overreach.
All right. Last night we talked about conspiracy theories. Why do people believe in them?
Well, isn't this something? I actually might be a person who believes in conspiracy theories. I'm not sure. But my favorite one is that birds aren't real. That's a little zany. The government put them there to spy on us. But the one that kind of gets me
Wait a minute,
is that...
What's not real?
The birds, little birds.
Birds aren't real.
I kid you not.
All right, well, Tammy suggested some people don't believe birds are real. Is that not one of the dumbest things you've ever heard? Apparently, Carl sent this to us. Birds aren't real. Those guys around that van, guess what, folks? They live among us. As one would imagine, there are people that think if you believe in conspiracy theories, you have too much time on your hands. Gary wrote, "Why do people believe in them? A desperate need to make sense of an increasingly complex world." And then Carl believes some folks simply gulp them. Some What Carl said was some drink from the fountain of knowledge, others only gargle. If it was possible, would you want your dog to live forever? Think about that for a second. FDA has certified a daily anti-aging pill for your dog, developed by San Francisco biotech startup called Loyal. The pill has a reasonable expectation of effectiveness at extending senior dogs' lifespans. What's the end game? These pills may be used not only to extend your dog's life, maybe yours as well. Brad, would you give that a try?
Probably not. I think there might be unintended consequences, as there often are with well-meaning things, but I don't want to be responsible if any of those consequences create suffering for our dogs.
All right, Jim, would you try it?
I think I'd give it a try for the dog, or maybe for my two cats. I might try it personally. Who knows? It just depends on, if there've been any side effects. Are you going to grow a snout? Are you going to start barking? Anything could happen with that.
All right. So, by the way, if I thought it worked, I would try it for our dogs. I'll tell you that, because I would want them with us forever. All right. Let's say it works. Then it goes to human trials, and it works. All right, Jim, now we know it works. You doing it? You.
Well, my question would be, do we get to maintain our age or look younger, or do we continue aging but just live forever? I don't know how I would look at 130. So that's a whole other question. But yeah, I would give it a try.
How about you, Brad? Now it's safe. We know it's fine. It's good. Would you do it?
Probably not. I'd rather live well every day than to live longer.
You see any ethical issues here, Brad?
I definitely do. Who knows what's going to happen with these things? I think it's very selfish of me to demand that my dogs live as long as I want them to, rather than just let them live out their natural life.
You got an ethical problem here, Jim?
Well, he's got a point in that animals and children, can't offer consent to things. So giving something to a pet, if it feels like an experiment, could be a problem.